Hey there, Cozy Babe, and welcome back to the Cozy Babes Club. I'm your host, Kloee Taylor, and today we are doing some of that good old big sister advice. I told y'all that we would be doing these once per season, and basically how this works, if you're unfamiliar, is over on my Instagram. I asked y'all in my stories to basically ask me anything that you need advice on, and this episode, surprisingly, at least on YouTube, depending on where you're listening or watching, but on YouTube, this is like one of my most watched episodes from the last one that we did. So I feel like y'all really like the advice ones. And if you ever want to do this, you can DM me on Instagram. Just tell me like, hey, for the next big sister advice, can you talk about this? And you can tell me more details about your situation as well. I can't guarantee that every person will always make it into the video because I get a lot of submissions, but you can always DM me on Instagram. You can also, whenever I post the sticker question, which is roughly once per season, you can go and reply to it there. So that is what we're going to get up to today. It's going to be fun, going to be funky fresh. I actually have not looked at these questions at all, which is not like me. Usually I kind of preview them a little bit and I literally screenshot them because, fun fact, actually do a little bit of catch up. Let's do a little bit of catch up, and I'll timestamp this if you just want to get right into the advice section. But this past week, y'all, and we'll probably talk about it in maybe a future episode if anybody wants it. I just feel like I have not been taking good care of myself. I was like, we're locking in for summer. We're doing all this stuff. And then I didn't ever make a plan for myself. So I had a plan and I had goals and ambition and ideas, but I didn't back it up with any form of this is how I build a habit. And I have a very strategic way that I personally build habits in my life. I'm very good with facts, figures, data. If there's any kind of way that I can make treating myself well into data and analytics, I'm very good with that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's because I have a Virgo midheaven, so I get really tickled by that shit, but I just recently, and it's also available in my course, by the way, Authentically Aligned on my website, kloeetaylor.com. I'm actually looking to update that course. So if you've already purchased the course, you'll get the updated version for free. It'll already be part of your course when I do that. But I recently went in and I redesigned one of the habit trackers that I designed for my course. And I think I made it better. I think it might be a masterpiece, and I want y'all to have it. So I'll most likely be putting the new updated version in there if you want to get it. Maybe I'll just sell an actual download at some point if anybody just wants the sheet. But this is something that I actually use in my life. It came as originally I found some stuff like it on Pinterest, and then I also have used a rendition of it that a friend had made. Mine is completely different, but I basically have evolved this over time as I have needed it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically just a tracking sheet. Some people like to bullet journal. I like actual sheets that I design on Canva, and then I'll use them in my life. So recently, like I said, I just redesigned one for myself that I just realized that I wasn't taking care of myself, even on a basic level. And I don't feel depressed. I feel and I know some of y'all that experience mental health problems like me, you know what it feels like to be depressed and be I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to do my laundry. I don't want to do the dishes. I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. Every small task. And if you've never felt that way, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. I hope you never have to. But when those little tasks start to kind of add up and you're not doing anything for yourself, I feel that was kind of the rut that I was in. But I wasn't feeling depressed or sad. It was just I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And at the same time, it would cause me a lot of anxiety because I'm not taking care of myself. So I designed a new sheet for myself. I've actually been filling it in. It's got a thing for AM routines, so like morning routines, evening routines, a section for actual habits that I feel like if I did them most of the time, I'm not looking for perfection, but if I did them most of the time, I feel like they would attribute to me feeling pretty good about myself and like good about my life all around. And I don't feel like the system that I made is complex. Like it's very like there are 6 things I do in the morning, there are 6 things I do in the evening, and then there's like I want to say 6 habits that are just very simple, like showering every day, making sure that I'm talking to another human that isn't just myself or my spouse every day, making sure that I am getting outside, that I'm leaving my apartment, that I'm spending intentional time outside, which I just use my balcony, and then I consider like leaving my house to be a different form of going outside. So just things like that where I'm just not in my house every day in my bed, not doing anything, because I very much am prone to falling into slumps like that. And then I just turn into this like goblin slob monster, and it's like, it's a crash out. We're having a crash out before we know it, and we don't even know how we got there. So yeah, anyways, that's how my week is going. I do feel like this is really timely because we also just had the new moon in Taurus. We're still feeling it the day that this episode goes out, but we're having the new moon in Taurus right now. And I have Taurus in my 6th house of, it's like day-to-day routines, mundane shit. It's Virgo's house. So it's funny to me that like this is the new moon I would get really organized under, but it's so fitting and so appropriate. So love that for me. Like I said, let me know if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with routines on a very like grand scheme, actually building towards the life they want, and also just building little routines that make sense to actually like help you, especially if you're somebody that has like ADHD or you struggle with your mental health. I feel like those are things that I'm not a stranger to. And I know that we sort of have this parasocial thing going on, and you don't really know what my life looks like every single day. You only know the parts that I share. But I feel like some of the stuff that I do could like actually help some of y'all. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. We can do an episode on routines and like coming back to doing that. But that's what I've been up to this week. I feel pretty good about it. I'm feeling good and supported, and the people that I love and care about are supporting me in it, and it's been a good time. So yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. Is there anything else I want to talk to you about? I don't think so. I think we should just dive in. We should get to that sisterly advice. So basically the premise behind this is that I am only a little sister, okay? I'm the youngest of 7 children in my family. Yes, big Mormon family. No, I am not Mormon. My parents are, and 1 sibling out of 7. So not me though, couldn't be me. No offense to any of my Mormon watchers out there. I think y'all are doing just fine if that makes you happy. I look at religion as a stepping stone in life. Some people need that level of commitment, and like they need that plan to kind of help them evolve. And some people don't. So, you know, I was Mormon for a time, but haven't been for many, many, many years. But anyways, I digress. I'm the youngest of 7 children. And I am nobody's big sister. I'm actually the youngest, but I feel like somehow, and I think my 1 sibling that listens to this podcast would agree, somehow the most wise. Don't know how that happened. I'm not trying to be egoic about it either. I feel like I'm told that, like by other family members and by friends, like how did, like not in a rude way, but like, how did that happen? So I'm nobody's big sister, but I would like to be. I would like to challenge myself to be your big sister in all of the struggles, the trials, the tribulations that you go through, because I feel like we're just kind of on this space rock, you know, hurling through space towards doom eventually. And we're all just trying to figure it out. So let me help you help yourself. Let me help you figure it out. And I also want to say, just as like a little, I guess, disclaimer, think of this like a what would Kloee do? This isn't necessarily what should you do. This isn't what, like, I don't know you. I don't know your circumstances. I don't know what is pressing on you. A lot of these questions have very short format because you can't write longer things in the question box. But just know this is more of like based with my knowledge, my intention, the things that I have accumulated over my 33 years, almost soon to be 34 years living on this planet. This is kind of what I would do or things that I would advise you on. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, let us digress. I'm so excited to get to these because I haven't looked at them yet. So the first question is advice on moving far away from your hometown. Oh my God, please do it. Please do it. I have too much to say about this because if you didn't know the Kloee Taylor lore, I am from Southern California. I was born and raised there. My family still lives there. My husband's family still lives there. We don't go back very often, but it is the place where we originated out of. And I'll speak for myself, not necessarily for my spouse, because that's his business, how he wants to share his life online. But for myself, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I moved out at 18. I turned 18 in May. I moved out literally New Year's Eve, my 18th year of living. So, however many years into what is that? 5 months, 6 months? How many months are there between May and December? 7? I think it's 7 months. 7 months after my 18th birthday, I moved out. I went away for college. I did have the help of my family to do that. Came from a very privileged position there. Though not really. I think when I say things like that, people think that I'm not trying to say that it wasn't privilege because it was. Like there are so many people that cannot do that. It was privilege to a point though. I think in my family, it's important for me to say these things because just for my own self and my own story, there was privilege given to me, of course, as we all experience privilege in varying degrees. But I think when people say like, oh, I went away for college, girl, my parents did not my mother covered my rent. My father covered my education for 2 or 3 semesters. And the semesters were I took 3 classes. It wasn't like I was going to this big university, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And my mother gave me some money. Most of it went to rent. I had $90 after the fact that I could spend on toiletries and taking care of myself. And this was in the 2010s. So yes, that $90 went a little bit farther and what a blessing still. I did not have to work, but I really couldn't do anything outside of buy groceries and go to school. I had no money for entertainment whatsoever. So I wouldn't say that I was going to college living large. And also I was doing it in Utah where there's no drinking, there's no sex, there's no gambling, I didn't have a typical college experience, but I don't know why I feel the need to say that, maybe just for my own truth, but yes, privilege because it is still a privilege to get to go, but I don't want you to get this impression that I was just running away on mommy and daddy's money. Actually, I was quite poor. I didn't really have, I think in truth, that experience has really shaped how I behave around money as an adult and as well as my parents' financial trauma that they still deal with. That's their own shit that I don't want to divulge into. But I feel like that really shaped how I feel around money because I always felt like it was very scarce and there was never enough. And to this day, I still struggle with that. Even when I have excess, it's hard for me to hold it because I feel like I should be struggling because we known comforts, Anyways, I feel like I'm getting super sidetracked on an ADHD spiral. So let's move on with the question. So moving away from my hometown, I left for college. I couldn't wait to leave. I needed to get out of that house. There was immense pressure put on me to find a job. I either had to find a job or go to school. Those were the rules. If you were going to live at my parents' house, I had to go to school or I had to get a job. And I think it's so weird, and we need to be doing better as a society with our teenage children, that it was never really told to me that at 18, you need to be preparing for this. It was just well, you're 18, you graduated from high school, make a choice. I just don't feel like I was put into that in any capacity. I was not given the freedom to have a gap year. if I ever have children, I will give them the freedom to have a gap year or two. Like, it just felt too rushed. I didn't feel ready. And I spent all of my time anxious in my apartment or at school. Still was better than being at home. Still was better than feeling the pressure of being at home, because at least I had like friends in the area where I went to school. It was still all around a good experience. My husband, eventually boyfriend at the time, moved up 9 months after I did to find work, because we graduated during the Great Recession and there was no work in California, literally none. You could not find a job. And he found a job within 2 weeks of moving to Utah, which is where I went to school. So moved away the first time. And I want to say I was freshly married. So 2013. Yeah, 2013. So that was 2009, New Year's Eve, 2009, 2013 into 2014. My husband and I moved back home. We thought we were going to start a family. We thought being close to our family was the right choice. We moved home and had a hell of a time. I'm not going to go into it because it's so old that like a lot of it, I think there are still some wounds within that, within like, honestly, both parties, both parties and both families. But there was a lot that happened at that time. And I'm not going to divulge all that shit on the internet. Like that's for private lives. But the little I will say, and it's not because I think there are so many hurt feelings now, it's that it shaped me as an adult, and I'm sure my spouse too. But once again, I'm not going to divulge his side of the story. That's his choice. But I feel like for me, it just felt like we had no support. And we had support to a degree, but it was my husband had like found work and then he lost this job. His grandmother passed away right around the same time. And like a lot of our livelihood was hinging on that. My gaming business was not doing super well. We were living with my parents and that was a nightmare. Living with my dad, I get along with him so well when I don't live with him. If I live with him, it's a fight every day. Living with him is not an option for me. Like I would rather live out of my car than ever live with my dad again. It's just not an option for me. But going back into that situation, and it was like everybody expected me to be grown. Everybody expected me to be a certain level of adult that I just wasn't yet. And I couldn't handle the pressure. And again, I'm only speaking to my side of everything, but I couldn't handle the pressure. And the second I saw an out, I was done. I was like, I am never moving back here. This was such a bad experience. I was drinking every single day to cope with living with my family. I was constantly battling arguments from both sides of the family. Like it was horrible. I will never put myself in that situation ever again. So I'm saying all of these things because in order to get the full picture of why I might say move away from your hometown, I think it's so valid to recognize that like if you have a great relationship with your family and they really support you and they're there for you and you really feel seen and heard and valued for the person that you are, like maybe you don't need to make that kind of dramatic move. Maybe it would be better for you to stick around your family. But for me, it felt like I had to get out both times. Both times that I moved away from home, I had to get out. And the second I had an opportunity, I was taking it. So the second time I moved away, I knew that I would never go home. That was one of those like life altering moments of it will never be the same again. I can never go home again. And I like when I say that, I get the chills because I know that to my bones, it is true. I can never go home again. It will never, I can visit my family. I can talk to my family. I can see everybody that lives there, but I can never truly go home again. And I think that's something that also just comes with age and time. Most people get to that point. I hope if I'm ever blessed with children that they will always know that they can come home again. That's like, to me, the highest form of flattery as a parent is your child knowing that without you even having to say it. But I know that for me, it's not even just about I could never go home again because of the environment. I think also it's like too much has happened, like it's almost like when people say like, they don't they don't want to not believe in God or manifestation or magic. It's that too much has happened and they no longer can, you know? I feel like for me, I know that I can never go home again because too much has changed. Too much has happened. I'm not who I was. I'm not that person. And I think moving away gave me that. I honestly attribute a lot of my success, a lot of my mental health development, a lot of my psychological knowledge, a lot of my being like the family healer. In my family, I am definitely a generational curse breaker. That is so clear to me. And in my direct line, I don't want to say I'm the only one because I think that there are generations after me that are definitely doing the work, at least to some capacity. But in like my immediacy, like siblings, parents, I'm the person doing it. I'm the person that says, I will not do that. I will not talk to people like that. I will not let my anger speak louder than my love. I will not, you're not going to catch me like that. I'm not going to use substance to cope and numb out of my life. I'm not going to, there's a lot there. But like I said, for me, getting out of my hometown meant getting away from all of that. And it was really making myself feel safe enough so that I could express myself fully without the judgment, without the criticism. And there's something to be said about moving away from your hometown when you're also going to come to a point. And it will happen. It will. I promise you it will happen. I guarantee you if I called my dad up today, he would tell me, as somebody himself that left his hometown and never went back, you're going to come to a point where enough time is going to pass that you're going to look, unless you move back, and you're going to go, wow, this could have been my life. I could have stayed here. I could have had the opportunity to see my family for holidays. I could have had the opportunity, and I talk about this a lot because it's something that like plagues me a little bit, is I don't have the privilege of being able to go, oh, I made too much dinner. Let me go take half of that to my parents' house. Oh, I'm making cookies. Let me make an extra batch and take it to my sister. Oh, I want to go get my nails done. I should call my sister and we could go together. For me, moving away from my hometown really meant moving away from family. And I think at one time in my life, I really needed that. I think to some degree, the separation is still good for me, but I recognize that there are things that I genuinely miss out on. Like I don't get to see my nieces and nephews. I wasn't there for them to go to prom, to graduate high school, to, have their own families. I mean, hopefully I'll get to see some of that by visiting, but like, you're just not a part of it if you're not in your hometown. And that's something to consider. And I'm not saying it's even bad. Like when I look back and I realize, oh, I don't have that opportunity and I probably never will. And can I live with that? And the reality of the situation is I've been living with it since I was 18 for the most part, and I will continue to live with it. I will be okay. It's now about me finding chosen and found family and finding local support, and that's a whole other ballgame. But I guess like advice for moving away from your hometown, you didn't really ask for a specific, so I'm just talking about my experience. I think that if you have the opportunity, always do it, because maybe you're somebody that you can go home again, right? Give yourself the opportunity of just trying. Give yourself the opportunity of learning who you are without the confinement of family, without the familiarity of social norms in your life. You will really get to understand and see the kind of person that you are. And like I said, I think for myself, this was a huge benefit. Getting to know myself without all of this like Mormon influence that I had, which is funny because I moved to Utah. Now I'm in Washington, but I lived in Utah for about 12 years. And even though it was very heavily Mormon cultured, I feel like I never really had a strong pull to the church when I lived there the whole time. There was not one part of me living there where I felt like super ultra Mormon. I never really went to my church meetings. I never really it just never really took for me. I was free and there was nobody that was going to convince me to go do all that. So I feel like learning who I was outside of all of that it was priceless. I can't even put a price tag on that. And it comes down to like, I really love the person that I am. And I think moving away from my hometown gave that to me. So that's all I'm going to say on that. That was kind of a lot, but we might not get to answer all these questions in one go. But anyways, next person said, can you give us advice on those of us who want to start their own business? I mean, here's the thing. I don't even know if I'm the best person to ask about this right now because yes, I have a lot of advice. Actually, maybe I'm the best person to ask about this because I've been through it numerous times. I have built numerous businesses and I have seen businesses flop. I have seen businesses do really well. I have kind of been through the gamut of business. But I think the thing is, every time I have started a business, it's never been with the intention to start a business. And maybe that's why I'm different. And I don't mean that in a pick me kind of way, but I didn't start gaming YouTube because I wanted to earn all this money and have a business. I didn't start reading tarot cards because I wanted a business. I didn't start streaming on Twitch when I used to do it for a living because I wanted it to be a business. I started those things as creative outlets and they ended up creating businesses. And I feel like the more I lean into the business side of things, the farther I sometimes get from my own truth and I become really unhappy. And I don't know, like, I know I technically am an entrepreneur, but I almost feel like for me personally, not for everybody else, for me personally, entrepreneur kind of feels like a dirty word. Like, and not because I think there's anything wrong with entrepreneurs. I think we need them. They're so amazing. They do so much for the economy and they're incredibly talented and, you know, they're voices of the future. I love entrepreneurship. But for myself, I just want to create. I just want to make things and I just want to help people and I just want to build community. I don't really have the intention of I want to have this stock and I want to, not business stock like S&P 500, but like stocking physical business items. I feel like the more that I get invested in the business aspect of things, the more, like I said, I start to kind of lose the vision in what I'm actually trying to do. And that's difficult for me. So I feel like in terms of starting a business, my best advice for you, coming from the direction I've always come from, and it might not be the best advice, but it's just follow your passion. Do what makes you happy. Do what you love to do. Create what you love to create. And just see what happens. Do it for the fun of the creation. And I will tell you that if it becomes a full-fledged business, sometimes, not always, but sometimes the thing that you love becomes the thing that you hate because now it's this business thing and the creativity has been taken out of it. And like I said, for me, I've always really struggled with that. So I'm not really sure that I'm the best person to ask for business advice, but because I just feel like I've been following my passion. I've been like, me and one of my really good friends were just talking about this, how I have such like a big fire signature. Like even in my astrology chart, I have like a high fire element signature. And even me as a person, like elementally speaking, I would consider myself like the element of fire. If I had to pick one for myself, I have a very high, like fire is just, that's just who I am. I'm the spark, right? I'm the spark, I'm the fire. And I definitely feel like I'm quick to leap from new project to new project. And sometimes without really fully thinking things through. So I feel like if you want your life to look anything like mine, just follow your creative passions, create what you love, and just see what happens. Just let it unfold. Don't let all these people out here convince you that you have to do like this big marketing scheme. Don't let people convince you that you have to be on Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and podcasting and Patreon. And like, there are so many social media outlets now, you will never be able to keep up with all of it, bestie. So just pick, if you want to go that route, just pick two and make things for those two platforms, and everything else is whatever it's going to be, because you will stress yourself out trying to do it all. Those are my best hot takes for business. Okay. Oh my gosh, this question's about marketing. I love the person that asked it so much too, but I feel like I'm just a terrible person to ask about that. They said, marketing to a new level of clients, if you have any advice on it. I mean, if I were in business and I recently had like a big surge in my business, and there were a bunch of new faces coming to me for something, I would probably make sure that I had some kind of catch for that. Like, not catch like a snag or like a scheme, but I would make sure I had a Patreon ready for that. I would make sure that like, you could even add like a new tier onto a Patreon. Or if there's some kind of service you want to offer, offering maybe a higher ticket service so you can be, because I think, and that's something that I feel like nobody ever wants to hear, because so many people want to remain accessible. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. But sometimes in business, especially if you're really creating from passion and passion is leading the way and you're following your bliss, what ends up happening in my experience is more and more and more and more people want access to you. And you have to be the person that makes yourself less accessible, unfortunately, because you can't be the person. I mean, you can offer like free things, right? Free is always wonderful when we can do those freebies and stuff. But you have to be the person that has to look at that and go, okay, so many people want my attention right now. What can I do to support my own energy in this? If I could do my best, most highest work, if I only did like a handful of people at this ticket price, what could that look like to sustain me as I'm also creating like the free stuff or stuff so everybody has more? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you kind of have to look at it from like a multiple tier perspective, I feel like. And see, this is why I'm like, maybe I am a good business person. Maybe I've actually learned a lot in my over a decade of experience, but I feel like I just don't look at myself like a business person. Even if I am, I don't see myself that way. I see myself as like a multi-passionate creator that just, I will create anything that sounds fun in the moment and see where it goes. But I would say, like, if there is a new level of clients and you're having an influx, like, just try to create something that would benefit that new group. If it's something that's in alignment with you. And if it's not, like, do business as business is. Maybe you already have those things readily available. You don't have to be doing it all. Trust me, I know a lot about doing it all. I know all about that busy woman syndrome. And busy woman syndrome is something I will never have again in my lifetime. I will never be that level of crazy ever again. Because it leads to burnout, slippery slope. Anyways, next question is, how do I stay focused on building my future when the world around us is falling apart? Oh my gosh, I feel like I have so much to say about this. I almost want this to be its own episode because I feel like we're going to just talk so much. This might be a 2-part episode. Maybe we'll do the other half next week. So, how do you stay focused on building? This is something that I have really had to do in my own life. So let me put the phone down. That's how serious this question is. Let me put the phone down. This is such an excellent question. I had to put the phone down. So in my own life, I know I talk about it a lot, and it's because I have really struggled. Okay. In my own life, I have dealt with really high anxiety for the last several years, borderline panicking a lot. Sometimes I've gone through periods of not panicking, and I've gone through like big stretches of time with not having a panic attack. I think it's a lot more under control than it has been in the past. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because I feel like if we look towards the news, towards current events, towards what's happening, every single day we're looking at it, right? If we're doing that, you are going to create panic. You are going to create that high anxiety, because even though sometimes, and I'll be the first person to tell you, okay, I myself struggle with it. We kind of are the anxiety factory though. Like, this is not in any way, shape, or form me trying to victim blame, because, you know, anxiety it sucks. It's terrible. And I think a lot of us suffer with it. And I do think it's because a lot of us we don't have the connection that we were meant to have as humans. We are doing life in a really unnatural way right now. And I'm not some like, oh, we need to go out into the trees and hug all the trees and lay on the earth. Like, that's beautiful. Please do that. Go touch grass. Okay. But like, obviously we're trying to adjust to the climate that we're given. But I think something that just needs to be said is it is okay. And I talked about this, I think last week a little bit. It is okay to unplug. It is okay for you to put it down. There is this weird thing. There is this really weird thing that happened in society. And I think I know why. It makes sense why. The why is not the problem. It's how, what do we do now that we know? The weird thing is, so many of us have tied our morality to whether we consume the news or not. And here's the thing. I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I think a lot of that shit is bananas, literally. And I'm not trying to make it political, but I do think, and maybe this does make me a conspirator, even though I'm not, I don't live there. I don't live in the conspiracy QAnon corner of the internet. I don't. In fact, I don't even engage with it. I often put myself in situations that are uncomfortable because I want to grow in terms of like listening to people that do have opposing views of mine and really trying to hear it, because I don't want to be an echo chamber. I don't want to never be challenged. I don't want to live in the black and white. And so I purposefully will make myself uncomfortable at times and put myself in conversations where I'm not allowed to be, which I think is healthy. I think a lot of us could use that. However, dialing it back into the point, so many of us have, and I think honestly, the media has really done it. The media has really pushed this narrative that if you're not plugged in all the time, if you're not paying attention, if you're not rallying, if you're not using your platform this way or that way, if you're not putting a little black square up on Instagram in 2020, you're the problem and you're not good, and it's a morality thing. We have tied world events, crisis events, news events to morality. And it's wrong, because you're not a bad person if you just choose not to look at the news. You're not. You're not a bad person if you are going to prioritize your family and your mental health first. And I would argue, and I will say this until I am blue in the fucking face, not at you. I'm not saying fuck to you, the person that asked this question. I love this question. I will say it until I'm blue in the fucking face, that we are so much better able to serve our community and the people that matter. Everybody matters, but like the people you can actually serve, like, your local community that you have access to, you will show up so much better and able to serve them if you turn that noise off. If you actually open up your front door and talk to your neighbor, you are going to find that you are able to be of service so much faster. And that's really where the help needs to be focused, in my opinion, is that, leave the advocating and the activism to the activists. Let the people that really want to be on the pulse of activism and are educated in it and it fires them up and it excites them, let those people do the activism, because those are the people that should be doing it. And everyone else, I really believe we should be community focused, not necessarily self-focused. Unless your mental health is really struggling, then yes, become self-focused. But I decided, I want to say, for real, back in March, I was still on Instagram a lot. I was using Instagram a lot. I was posting on Instagram a little bit more frequently. And I kept trying to I'm bringing this up for a reason. I kept trying to be there and be consistent. And what had happened is I found myself anxious, and I have an Aura ring that basically it tells me every single day if I'm stressed. It will tell me my stress. When I tell you, I was experiencing between 9 and 10 hours of stress a day. And in March, I made the decision to take not only all social media off my phone, which it usually always is, but I was going through a period of time where I was using a lot of it. I took all of it off my phone, and I just don't engage. The only social media I have on my phone is Pinterest and Discord. That's it. And Pinterest is just pretty pictures. For me, it's not political. I don't ever get that on Pinterest, thank God. And on Discord, I just pay attention to my Discord and like my friends. I don't put myself in Discords that are highly aggressive or political or world news, whatever. And outside of that, I focus on how I can serve the people around me. Can I write letters to my family? Can I donate to the local food bank? Can I, can I start growing a little herb garden and then give to my neighbors in my apartment? Can I make cookies for my neighborhood? Can I join local meetups? I recently got into a local astrology group that I'm really loving right now. And when I tell you, it made such an impact that I went from 9-10 hours of stress a day to 2. And in the Aura Ring, it tells you, and this is not an ad for Aura, like I do love this thing, but it's, not an ad. Like do what you're going to do with your wearable tech. But in my ring, it'll also tell me like, some stress is okay. It's normal for you to have like an hour or 2 of stress a day because sometimes it's physical exertion, right? It'll show you that too. If it's like physical stress because you're working out or moving your body or, maybe you have high cortisol right when you wake up or, whatever. It tells you that like some stress is okay. And then it'll show you like where you're restorative, where you are engaged because it measures your body temperature and your heart rate to kind of get that information. And literally 10 hours to 2, sometimes less than 2 a day. And that has made a huge difference in my life across the board. So, and I attribute like what was happening is I was on Instagram so much that I was starting to get shown news and I would keep telling it, don't show me this, don't show me this, don't show me this, because I don't use social media that way. I use social media to look at pretty pictures and catch up with my friends and like say hey to my community. I don't like using social media for news. And so I would constantly tell it like, don't show me this. A picture of Trump shows up. Don't show me this. I don't want to see any of it. I don't care. I don't care if it's Biden. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care red, blue, pink. I don't care. Like, I don't want to see any of it. And I feel like that was the first thing that I noted is it had a direct impact on my level of stress. And now, I don't really post to Instagram and I'm not really on it with my community and that sucks, but my mental health is worth that. I'm worth that. And I am much better served to my local community now, to my spouse, to my family who I can call up on the phone, to my friends. I am so much more clear-headed and not so like I still struggle with my anxiety, but I feel like it is not on the level that it was. So that's kind of my 2 cents there is like, let me look at that again. What was the question? I hope this is actually helpful. Am I even answering it? How do I stay focused on building my future when the world around us is falling apart? Okay. So now that I've told you all of that, I feel like that's really what I'm getting at is if you want to then build your future, all that time that you would have spent focused on world events, put that energy back into yourself. So for me, I also don't spend time, and I think there's something to be said about this too. I don't spend time with people that love talking about world events. I don't. I have one friend that I talk to, 2 friends that I talk to a lot. They both know this about me and they don't share that stuff with me unless like I bring it up or we might say like one little thing about it, but there's never this constant drip of information. And the secondary thing is if you're worried that you'll be uninformed, oh no. If you're worried that you'll be uninformed, somebody will tell you. Something big is going on, somebody's going to tell you, I promise. I have not watched the news outside of 2020 since I was like in high school when I stopped watching the news. So I'm about to be 34. It's probably been like 15 years, give or take. And I'm always informed. Somebody always tells me what's going on. I always hear about the big events. And also, I still vote. Like, I still vote. I'm still part of the communal aspect. I'm still part of, I have an opinion about things. I still make myself aware of policy changes. Like, you can have both. You can be invested in your local. And I also want to say, especially if you're in the US, because I don't know how politics work everywhere else, vote in those preliminaries. Like, make yourself aware of policies and changes and who makes those things, but you don't have to be involved in the massive headlines every day. Put your energy where it counts and step away from all of the bullshit, because that's all it is. It's meant to keep you there. News outlets are meant to keep your attention. And I'm not just talking about like the Capital Channel 5 News or Channel 7, 3, whatever. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about it's everywhere. It's on Twitter. Twitter. It's on Twitter. It's on Blue Sky. It's on Instagram. It's on, like I said, I don't really see it on Pinterest, praise, but it's everywhere. And you really have to be the person that curates your space. Curate your space and in real life with real humans, not just pages online. Not saying that those things aren't written by real people, though sometimes it may not be. In your local community, do your due diligence there and get rid of the rest, because that shit doesn't matter. It doesn't it's not that it doesn't matter. I'm not saying like if there is really horrendous shit going on in another country that doesn't matter, because that's not true. It does matter. But like, do you need to be listening to it every single hour of every single day? No, you're not going to be of good use or help to anyone. Maybe set a rule with yourself that you're going to check in on current events once every 2 weeks. Maybe start with once a week and then go down to 2 weeks and then 3 weeks and extend that time and notice how you feel. Track your moods. Notice how you feel without it. That's something that I actually noted. I had a friend come visit me. This was, I think, a couple of years ago now. I had a friend come visit me, and me and my husband both don't consume the news. We don't consume the news. We don't talk about it much unless there's something really important that's come up. We don't really, he, I think, kind of keeps his pulse on it a little more than I do, or anything more would be more than me because I do none. But, he will also help to like keep me informed about certain things. But my friend was like would check the news every day and like would listen to like the comedy sketches of the news, which is fine, like however you want to consume it. No, this is a no judgment space. But after spending like a week at my house where she didn't have that, I don't know if she looked at it on her own, but like me and my husband just weren't talking about it because we don't run our lives by that. She was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to delete these apps. I don't need this. And she was like, I've been so much calmer and so much more peaceful, and you're so right. So like, try just not looking at it for a little bit and just see what happens. See if it helps you to recenter with yourself. And I also think I want to say like one more thing and then we'll move on. I think there is something to be said about the privilege of not looking at the news. And yeah, you're damn right. It's a privilege to not look at the news. I would be a fool to not acknowledge that. It is a privilege. There are people that they don't have that privilege because they are in the thick of it and they rely on that news for what is going on. And I just wanted to throw that in here because I recognize my privilege. I'm not in the thick of it right now, personally. I don't need to have a radio on next to my ear listening for those things. And it is a privilege, but if you have privilege, exercise the fucking privilege so that you can serve your community better. If you have the privilege of not needing to listen to that because you're not a trained activist, because you're not somebody that is out there making the change, making the laws, if you have done your due diligence to support what you can, like use that privilege to your advantage. Again, it comes back to morality for me. Not watching the news or paying attention to the world outside of your own accomplishments and achievements right now. Maybe it does seem selfish to some people, but I would encourage you to be selfish because you get one life. And do you think that when you're on your deathbed at the end of your life, you're going to go, oh man, I really should have listened to the news for those 30 years? No, you get one. Like, do you get that? Not you specifically, but like everybody that's watching, do you get that? You get one. And why would we spend it paying attention to this little box telling us about everybody else's problems and treating every single thing like a major emergency or a crisis when it isn't always? It's not worth it. It's not worth it to do that. And you get one life. Choose yourself. And I don't mean that in like a we can't ever make room for anyone else, right? I think there is a delicate balance there. I'm not telling you not to be a community member and not to try to make change where you actually can. I am telling you to do that. But if you're just getting lost in the sauce and stressed about the future of everything, put it down. Put it down. I feel like I've said enough. I feel like I've made my case. That's how I feel about it. That's how I choose to look at it. Okay, this person said dating at an older age. I can't answer this question. I'm sorry. I can't because I've been in the same relationship for 17 years and I don't know anything about dating at this point in time. I married the second person that I dated. If you wanted to ask me about marriage, I could talk to you about that. But actually dating, I feel like I got the last chapter out of Nam. Like, I have no desire to go back to dating in this current climate, and I'm not trying to talk shit on you. Like, I hope it works out for you. I am not the person though. It's that I can't answer that. I'm sorry. I just don't know anything about it. I feel like and I think that's a good thing. I think it's valuable when people stand up and say, you know what? I am not the expert in that. I don't know anything about the dating climate in today's world. I got married in 2013. I was with my partner for 5.5 years before we got married. I started dating him when I was 16. Like, I've been with him longer than I haven't. And I can't, I wish I could answer that, but I can't because I have no experience. But best of luck to you, genuinely. Okay. I know it's coming, but definitely excited for the long-term relationship advice. Okay, we're obviously going to have to circle back to that episode because I do want to make it. I just want it to be like good. Like, I want all my episodes to be good, but like I want that one to really like communicate what I mean. So thanks for that. Encouraging me to get to it. Okay, how to keep going when everything feels like a mess. Okay, literally I just did this and I kind of talked about it in the intro to the episode that I recognized that I wasn't taking care of myself. And that's what I mean. Like, I feel like when you say everything's a mess, you have to look at the mess. That is like step number one. You have to acknowledge the mess. You have to turn around and say, okay, what is chaotic and where do I want to start? Because for myself, I was recognizing that even like drinking enough water and brushing my teeth were becoming tasks that I was like, that's too hard. That's too much. I can't do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And so, and like, especially because I wasn't necessarily depressed. I just like wasn't doing it. I don't know. Like and I have no shame in saying that. Like, I was definitely not somebody that was parented in a way where it was drilled in that you brush your teeth twice a day, every day. And to this day, I still have to like force myself to make it a habit. And it sucks. Hate that it's like this, but that's on parents having too many kids when they shouldn't have. You start to not actually teach your kids like the livable skills that they need. So I feel like when everything is a mess though, you have to face it and you have to start to dissect it. That's like my personal plan of attack is you have to dissect it. And I'm big on lists as well. I love making lists. I have a whole episode where I talk to you about exiting your sad girl era. I will link it for you down below and in the card section on YouTube. I have a whole episode where I discuss exiting your sad girl era. And I think this episode would really help you like go in depth on this topic. But ultimately, you have to turn around and face it. You have to then ask yourself what the priorities are and where you are in it. So for myself, I was at the bottom of the barrel, okay? I was not doing basic human tasks. And so that's where I started, is I made a whole tracking sheet for myself where I track 6 habits in the morning, 6 habits at night, basically my morning and night routine, and a few things that it's not important that I do them every single day, but most days I would say I want to be doing the other 6 things. And then I have a mood tracker and like a time that I woke up in the day tracker that is incorporated into it. Like I said, I'm going to be updating my course with that. So if you want it, make sure you check that out. But I would encourage you to go watch that episode because I feel like you're just going to get more out of it than me just trying to give you like a quick explanation. So I'll make sure I link it. How to improve my self-esteem. Okay. I always think about that Cat Williams skit where he's like, my self-esteem is low. Bitch, it is the esteem of yourself. Like, it's your self-esteem. When people talk about like their esteem being low because of somebody else, like, bitch, it's your self-esteem. It's self-esteem. If you don't watch Cat Williams comedy, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But improving self-esteem, I honestly think for myself, what I have done to work on that is I make myself talk to other people. I make myself get out of my bubble. I make myself interact with people. I make myself go to local meetups and meet new people. I force myself to hang out in my Discord server. I've streamed on Twitch to also make myself more social, because a lot of my self-esteem tends to be in like social anxiety. So I will make myself be social, and I'm good at being social. I'm good at talking. It's like my gift. My gift within like my astrology chart is my ability to be able to like talk. I have the gift of gab and I can speak to anybody. But yet struggling with social anxiety. Why? I feel like the only way out is through. And if you're dealing with like low self-worth, low self-esteem, I would encourage you to look up some books. I really love, especially if it's like low self-worth in a relationship, especially if you're in a hetero relationship. I would say even if you're not like this, I do think it's a book that is for women though, or people who identify as women. It's definitely on that thread, but the book is called, oh my gosh, what is that book called? On Audible, and I own it on Kindle. The New Rules by Margarita Nazrenko. I feel like this book is like the self-esteem boot camp. That one's really good, and I haven't finished it, but I liked it. Was Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers by Tam Carr. That one's a little bit younger. So like, I mean, I feel like it has info for all ages, but she is like the queen of self-esteem and like self-love and self-trust. And I'm always going to recommend that you look to reading if you are somebody that likes to read. Even if you don't, give it a chance. I think that everything is figure outable. Truly, everything is figure outable, and you are not made to just struggle with this forever. And the more knowledge you have, I believe that knowledge is power. So pick up more knowledge on how to build that self-esteem. And I also have an episode where I talked about like how to date yourself. I'll link that one down below as well if you want to listen to it. Okay, next question is how to find new hobbies as an adult that aren't so expensive. I am the worst person to ask this question to. I don't even know if I could answer it because as a Taurus, I love expensive shit, okay? I am the first person to tell you that. I love expensive shit. I will not compromise on my taste. I will not compromise on my hobbies. If I see somebody doing marker shit, I want to buy the most expensive markers, the ones that work the best. If I see somebody bullet journaling, I want to go buy the bougie journal with the bougie pens. If I see somebody building Legos, I want to go buy like I literally just told my husband, I don't want any more small Lego sets. Like I would rather get fewer sets because that's one of my hobbies. I would rather get fewer sets throughout the year if it meant that I could just have bigger sets. So unfortunately, I am the worst person to ask this question because I don't have children. I don't have anybody who relies on me. It is just me and my spouse. I make my own money. And though I have been through a lot of financial struggle, we need to do a financial update episode eventually because I think I've kind of cracked the financial code a little bit and things have changed in a good way in my life financially. And it wasn't because I started making gobs of more money. I just got smarter with my money. Again, we'll talk about that in the future, but I just feel like I'm a bad person to ask this because what would Kloee do? She would get into the expensive hobby. She would get into the expensive hobby. She would be putting money aside. Even if it took me 6 months to save for it, I would save for it and I would get into the expensive hobby because I kind of live my life by the notion that I get one life and I'm not willing to compromise on myself. I'm not willing to compromise on my life. I'm not willing to compromise on the things that really call to my heart. Like even if I wanted to travel somewhere, like if I wanted to go to Dubai and I wanted to go on the Emirates plane and that was like my biggest life goal, I wouldn't compromise on that. I would save for 10 plus years or however long it takes me so I could have that experience. I am somebody that refuses to compromise. So I will compromise when it comes to like my relationship and the workings of that with other people. But when it comes to like spending on myself, I will not compromise. I would rather go without and then have the thing that I want eventually. And I think I get that from my mother. My mother has that toxic trait. So I apologize, but I simply cannot help you with that. I would buy the expensive thing. How do you deal with letting go of things and moving? Just like moving on or like moving physical locations, because letting go of things and moving, I feel like if you're talking about physical locations, it's not easy. I have been through more than one move in my life where I have had to start over or I've had to get rid of a lot of my possessions. And that has never been easy for me. I would say that I think I am a little materialistic to some degree, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm cool owning that. I do think I'm a little materialistic. I think it's part of what makes me me. I will buy myself the nice things. And so it's not easy for me to do that. But I also think that it feels good to give. So like if I'm getting rid of things and I'm moving, I am not someone, surprisingly, I think you would think it would be the opposite, but I don't like to sell things when I move. I prefer to just give them away. I prefer to just, because I really do believe that any money I spend comes back to me. And when I give things away, it's all going to come back to me anyways. When I need something or I desire something, I'm going to get like the best price on it. I'm going to find it for a steal because I have given so many high quality things away. Like even when I moved from my house into this apartment, because literally I moved out of a massive house into this shoebox of an apartment that I'm only kind of starting to fall in love with. I feel like when I did that, I had to let go of a lot of expensive shit. Like I had a really nice recumbent exercise bike that I paid with my own money for, and I just donated it. I gave it to these people that do yard sales. Same with my walking pad. I just donated it. I gave away a lot of furniture, really nice furniture. Like I said, for myself, I also don't want to deal with the hassle of selling it. So I just give things away. And every time I've either been able to replace the item by like finding it somewhere else, like refurbished or what have you, or I've been able to buy something nicer in the future. So I feel like it's hard to let go. It is hard to let go. I am the queen of that. I feel like I spent the last like 12 months grieving. It's hard to let go, but I think it's powerful to know that you will eventually be okay. You will be able to let go. You will be okay. The things that you thought you would never get over, you will get over. Think about that. Ask yourself that question of, has there ever been anything in your life that you thought you would never get over and now you're through it? I always think about my first boyfriend, like, oh my gosh, I was so stupid. He treated me so terribly and he was not a good guy. And I thought I would never get over that. That was like such a heartbreaking thing at that time. And now it's laughable. I'm so grateful that I dodged a bullet with that one. But just ask yourself about those times of things that you never thought you would get over, because it shows you how resilient you are. Okay, I'm only going to answer a few more, and then I think we're actually going to move into a part 2 for this episode because there were just so many good questions. Okay, that's all we have time for. We're going to do a part 2 next week of this episode. So if you want to hear more questions, a lot of really good ones came through, and I think we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. So make sure you follow along. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please, 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 if you listen this long, or YouTube, anywhere, can you leave me a fruit emoji down below? Because girl, we are in our fruit era right now. My favorite fruit's watermelon. So like leave me a watermelon if it's your favorite too, but like whatever fruit, leave me a fruit emoji. And something that really helps, like genuinely, and it is completely free for you to do it. If you feel like you love this podcast and you want to show it some love, please leave me a review. If you're on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts, leave me a review, leave me a little 5-star. And if you're on YouTube, leave me a comment and a thumbs up. That really helps me to get seen by more people. It boosts the engagement and it allows us to like grow our community. Now, for all the other fun stuff, I of course have a Patreon where you can get exclusive content. I just put out a hair and makeup tutorial where I like showed you how I do my hair when I like last week. So many of y'all were like, your hair looks exquisite. How did you do that? I made a tutorial for you. It's on Patreon. I also showed you how I do my makeup for my setup, and there's also so much there. I do an astrology report every single month. I do a tarot report every single month. We do vlogs over there as well. So if you want more behind the scenes of what we get up to around here in Kloee Taylor's universe, make sure you join. I also have my courses available to you, 3 different ones at 3 different price points. And I have an extra special announcement. If you have stayed this long into the episode, make sure you're on my email list because I guarantee you they are going to sell out. But for the first time in 6 months, I am opening up my astrology and tarot readings again. For the first time in 6 months, I feel like I want to do that. And like, I'm excited to do it. And I feel honored to like share your energy. So if you have been wanting a reading, if you have been missing me in that capacity, I have not opened these since last October. Like I said, I guarantee you they will sell out because when I go long stretches without doing them, they sell out pretty fast. I don't know that I will do a restock. Sometimes I do right away. Sometimes I take 6 months to do a restock. Sometimes I think that I'll never restock again. So if you would like a reading, both, like I said, I do astrology readings, Saturn return readings. I'm offering a new sector of astrology readings as well, where you can get more of your transits for the year. So if you want like a yearly personal breakdown, that's coming. And I'm doing a few, less of the tarot readings, more of the astrology, but they will be available. So make sure that you check those out. Links down below. It's on kloetaylor.com. Also, just go peruse my website. I just redid it. I had it redone, or I say I had it redone, but I'm the one who did it. Like, I am the one that sat there and made that website pretty. So that's why it took so long, because I'm a one-woman show. Do it myself. But go peruse, go check it out. Like I said, I'm also updating my course. So if you want to get your hands on that, there will be a new sheet available in there soon, probably with a new video segment as well, talking about that. And that is what I have for you this week. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, if you want to follow me, of course, I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. I'm everywhere. The Discord also, if you want to join that, I have been significantly more present there. We're having such a good time. I'm currently remastering it. There is going to be new sections. We're doing more like cyclical living on the Discord, where we can just like basically do cyclical living girly pop shit together. And I'm really looking forward to it. So definitely check it out. If you're not a part of the Discord, come join. It's completely free. All my links are down below. And thank you. Thank you so much for all these amazing questions. I'm so excited to film the part 2. And I will see you all, talk to you all next week. Please do not forget to follow your plan and not your mood. Bye.